Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we are continuing our study of the resurrections in the New Testament, and we're doing the last of those resurrections before we start talking about the resurrection of Jesus himself next time. We're in Acts chapter 20 today, and we're talking about the resurrection of Eutychus. So remember, there are 7 resurrection accounts other than Jesus' resurrection in the Bible. There's the resurrection performed by Elijah, the one by Elisha, and then there are the 3 performed by Jesus. The widow of Nain's son, the raising of Jairus' daughter, and then the raising of Lazarus. Then the 2 in the book of Acts. Peter raising Tabitha, and Paul raising Eutychus. And we really are connecting back with those first 2 resurrection accounts today. All but 2 of the resurrection accounts are about giving a young man back to his community or to his parents. And Jairus' daughter is about giving a daughter back. Lazarus is about giving a brother back. We had 2 in the Old Testament, 3 by Jesus, 2 by Paul. 1 by Peter, 1 by Paul. And this is the last of those events to happen in Scripture. So let's read Acts chapter 20, and I'll be reading Acts chapter 20, verses 5 through 12. We'll begin with verse 6. We sailed from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came to them at Troas within 5 days, and there we stayed 7 days. And on the first day of the week, when we were gathered together to break bread, Paul began talking to them, intending to depart the next day, and he prolonged his message until midnight. And there were many lamps in the upper room where they were gathered. And there was a certain young man named Eutychus, sitting on the window sill, sinking into a deep sleep. And as Paul kept on talking, he was overcome by sleep and fell down from the 3rd floor and was picked up dead. Paul went down and fell upon him after embracing him, he said, "Do not be troubled, for his life is in him." And when he had gone back and he had broken bread and had eaten, he talked with them a long while until daybreak, and so departed. And they took away the boy alive and were greatly comforted. Okay, so this happens in Troas. Paul has recently been in Ephesus and then Philippi, and now he's in Troas. And Troas is on the coast of present-day Turkey. And it's the first day of the week, it's Sunday, and they get together for one purpose, and that is to take communion, to break bread, which is a way of talking about the communion service. They come together on the first day of the week to take the communion, which was their practice, and that's why it's our practice as well, because of this very verse, Acts 20, verse 7. They're in a rather large building because it has 3 stories, and they're in at least three stories, and they're in a 3rd-story room. But even if it was a larger building than just a house, the room would probably not have been big enough to hold that many 40, 50, 60 people, maybe. They might have crammed some more in. But Paul knows he's going to leave the next day, and he wants to take a while to instruct them. He knows he's headed to Jerusalem. He knows he's going to be arrested. He knows that events are going to start to spin in this way, and he prolongs his talk. And the word Luke uses is to stretch it out, and often it's used unnecessarily, to mean unnecessarily, like someone wouldn't just wrap it up when it was time. And it seems like Paul may be delivering one of those sermons where he repeats all of his points over and over and over again for emphasis. I don't know. But it's an interesting choice of words that Luke uses. Luke is there. This is one of the we passages that we have beginning in Acts chapter 18. Luke is there. We did this. So Luke was there when this happened. There's a young man sitting in the windowsill, as would I, had I had the opportunity to get a little air in this cramped room where lots of lamps were burning. And his name was Eutychus. And Eutychus means good luck. That's what his name means. And he falls asleep, as probably I would have as well. Um, and he falls asleep, and he falls out the window, and and 3 stories down, he's gone. Um, Paul descends, as do they all, and he falls on the boy. The phrase "to fall on the boy" um, can also mean to lay across or to lay out, which is exactly what Elijah and Elisha did when they raised those young men from the dead. And so we have him, laying on top of this young man and then hugging him up. And he presents him back alive. Um, and and then they go up and he keeps on preaching, um, as some do. And then at daybreak, towards daybreak they have a meal, and then at daybreak they depart. I've said, nothing should get in the way of the momentum of the lesson. So you don't stop to give footnotes. You let the lesson take you where the lesson is going as you're presenting the word. And I guess Paul did that. He did stop to raise this young man from the dead. Um, but I also don't preach very long. You know that. I go 20, 25 minutes. Actually, I go between 18 and 23 minutes. And I've had lots of older preachers, some very well known older preachers, just get all over me for that. And they will always remind me that Paul preached till midnight. And I've always, since I was a very young man, of course, I did this since I was a young man. At my age, I wouldn't have been so cheeky as to ever said this, but since I've said it all my life, I still say it. When people tell me Paul preached till midnight, I always say, yeah, and a guy died. So if you're not prepared to raise the dead, wrap it up. And with that, I will leave you with Mr. Lucky being presented back alive. I guess he was actually, to his congregation, and Paul moving ahead. Okay, well, we're going to spend some time talking about Jesus' own resurrection, and we're going to take a couple of days to introduce the topic. We're going to spend time on all 4 Gospels, and we're also going to spend some time in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. In fact, we'll begin with 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 1, when we're together next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.